No such thing as a day off right now, huh? Two huge new pieces of news just dropped about the OpenAI case, so let's take a look. First, we have what's going on internally at OpenAI between Emmett, the board, and the existing employees. It seems like Emmett's actually doing a decent job negotiating right now and is stuck representing the board, including Adam, who seems to be the main person pushing back now. We'll be talking about Adam a lot in the future, so make sure you subscribe so you can see that. Importantly, a big part of Emmett's angle here was his threat to resign. He has let the board know that if they don't provide evidence of Sam's wrongdoing, he is out, which is bold for somebody who's been there for a day and a half. So cool to see that level of pushback. This lines up with my experience with Emmett. He's really good at this type of negotiation between a business that's interests are different from your team and companies. And I think that this type of ultimatum has a good chance of getting answers out of the board finally. And if it doesn't, that's going to look terribly for the board, and I can't imagine them surviving much longer after that. All of this said, there was one other huge piece of news that dropped, which actually, of all places, came from Elon Musk's Twitter. This letter about OpenAI was just sent to me. This seems like concerns worth investigating. This is a letter from ex-OpenAI employees to the board of directors of OpenAI. We are writing to you today to express our deep concern about the recent events at OpenAI, particularly the allegations of misconduct against Sam. We are former OpenAI employees who left the company during a period of significant turmoil and upheaval. That period was between 2018 and 2020, where they made the move away from a traditional nonprofit towards a nonprofit operating a for-profit LLC underneath. Again, big video coming about the history of all of this soon as I can sit down and finish gathering all the news to record it. So once again, hit the subscribe button so you can keep up to date with this. As you've now witnessed what happens when you dare step up against Sam, perhaps you can understand why so many of us have remained silent for fear of repercussions. We can no longer stand by silent. We believe the board of directors has a duty to investigate these allegations thoroughly and take appropriate action. We urge you to expand the scope of Emmett's investigation, specifically to go into that August 2018 era where the nonprofit to LLC change happened. Issuing an open call for private statements from former OpenAI employees who resigned, were placed on medical leave, or terminated during this period, and protection for the identities of those who come forward to ensure they are not subjected to retaliation or other forms of harm. We believe that this is a significant number of OpenAI employees were pushed out of the company to facilitate its transition to a for-profit model. This is evidenced by the fact that OpenAI's employee attrition rate between January 2018 and July 2020 was in the order of 50%. For what it's worth, at a startup in a high growth window, this type of thing is somewhat common, especially since at the time they had around 100 employees and now they have over 750. During those types of growth, huge change happens, and a lot of the companies I consult with, and even my own, sees much higher than 50% attrition rates during those types of periods. Throughout our time at OpenAI, we witnessed a disturbing pattern of deceit and manipulation by Sam and Greg, driven by their insatiable pursuit of achieving artificial general intelligence. Their methods, however, raised serious doubts about their true intentions and the extent of which they genuinely prioritize the benefit of all humanity. This benefit of all humanity is the go-to line from the board in the original charity group, and I absolutely understand the need to make sure AI helps everybody and isn't just a for-profit thing for a small number of people, especially now that Microsoft has become the majority owner of so much of the value OpenAI delivers, not necessarily the company itself, but the ability to use those models in commercial places combined with having Sam and Greg ready to go on your side means that the for all aspect of what OpenAI was doing has kind of been destroyed in this process. But I would make the argument, funny enough, that it's actually the board's doing that this goal will never be achieved. So while long video about all that coming soon. I don't want this to be an opinion piece. I just want to cover the news. Many of us, initially hopeful about OpenAI's mission, chose to give Sam and Greg the benefit of the doubt. However, as their actions became increasingly concerning, those who dared to voice their concerns were silenced or pushed out. The systematic silencing of dissent created an environment of fear and intimidation, effectively stifling any meaningful discussion about the ethical implications of OpenAI's work. We provide concrete examples of Sam and Greg's dishonesty and manipulation, including Sam's demand for researchers to delay reporting progress on specific secret research initiatives, which were later dismantled. People were fired for bad culture fits just before Thanksgiving. I feel like this is trying a little too hard. Like, if there are issues at a company, timing departures so that you're not near holidays. Like, If they weren't fired before Thanksgiving, they would have been fired just before Christmas. And if they weren't fired just before Christmas, they would have fired just as the new year starts. Like, there's no such thing as a good time to fire somebody. I don't like callouts like that. It makes the whole thing feel disingenuous. Greg's use of discriminatory language against a gender transitioning team member. Despite many promises to address this issue, no meaningful action was taken, except for Greg simply avoiding all communication with the affected individually, effectively creating a hostile work environment. This team was eventually terminated for alleged underperformance. Sorry, this team member was eventually terminated. This is nowhere near enough info. This could be really bad, or it could be Greg saying, yo guys, what's up? Or what you dudes up to. I use the term guys and bros without meaning gender, and due to that type of pushback, I've kind of dropped the terms in favor of y'all because there's no gender implied there. So without more detail, this is either really bad or absolutely nothing. Sam directing IT and operations staff to conduct investigations into employees, including Ilya, without the knowledge or consent of management. This could be bad, but it depends on what operations is. Is operations like their equivalent of HR, or is this people managing tech? This you need way more info on. Sam's discreet yet routine exploitation of OpenAI's nonprofit resources to advance his personal goals, particularly motivated by his grudge against Elon following their fallout. Again, we need details here. This is just an opinion. The operation team's tacit acceptance of the special rules that applied to Greg, navigating intricate requirements to avoid being blacklisted. Again, like these words, special rules. What are the rules? Give us info. Brad Lightcap's unfulfilled promise to make public the documents detailing OpenAI's cap profit structure and the profit cap for each investor. From what I've seen, this didn't happen, but it wasn't too unclear. The cap was pretty formal. It's you can't make more than 100 times what you invest in the company. Would more transparency be good? Sure. But there's probably a lot of reasons why these documents can't be shared that I've experienced myself as a founder. Just sharing all of the info about your company isn't as easy as it sounds. There's a lot of potential legal and other ramifications for it. So again, we need more info. And Sam's incongruent promises to research projects for compute quotas causing internal distrust and infighting. This I have heard a little bit about. There was a point at which 20% of OpenAI's compute was given to Ilya to dedicate to research projects around safety. I don't know if that happened or not. But again, we don't have any specifics here, so it might be related to something entirely different. We can't know because nothing was actually said here. There's no mounting evidence. There is no info here. Yeah, the more I read this, the more I think this is nonsense. And again, they did this entirely anonymously. None of the employees were willing to stand up and back the thing that they're saying here. And that alone is enough of a reason to potentially write it off. But the lack of actual info in here makes it even less likely there's value here. That's the current drama. It seems like there are a few ex-employees, potentially, who are as upset as the board is and are looking for this investigation to go further. But once again, nothing here is concrete. None of them were willing to stand up and back what they said with their name behind it. And none of the examples here are actual examples. They're just opinions on things that might have happened without details of what happened. So I guess that's all I have for now. I'm sure I'll see you guys later, though.